I would dispute that, but that's okay.
I got the backside goods, as we've seen in podcast past.
Yes.
But not today. Today it's hidden.
Yeah.
That's all right.
And
Yeah.
Brittany's got her hair all up.
Yeah.
Looks great.
You look
your hair
fantastic.
both look fantastic.
Thank you.
Really looks
We love
good.
your hat.
Good. I'm glad. It was
Yeah.
brand new. First time I've unveiled
What'd you
it.
call it? A lid?
I call it a lid, but it's,
lid.
I mean, like Newsies, Peaky Blinders, whatever.
That store in the mall is called Lids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you could buy all your ball caps.
Yeah.
So caps, lids,
Yeah.
hats, same thing.
And did
So
you know on the side of your hat it says Royal Awesome?
Royal and Awesome.
Oh, okay.
That's the
All
brand.
right.
That's the company.
Oh, I
remember
thought you
the
were
green? Remember the green shorts I wore on St. Pat's? Those are Royal and Awesome as well.
Oh.
It's like a golf outfit, and you can buy golf clothes through there.
That's pretty
So
cool.
this is stuff you're supposed to wear through golfing.
That would
There's
be
some-
like my clothing brand, Royal and fucking Awesome.
Well, a lot of the stuff Ellen won't let me buy because it's all like
Pricey?
plaid and wild, and I'm like, well, I'd like to wear that on the course. She's like, no, don't wear that.
I think that's in though. All the wild prints.
Yeah,
with
some
like,
Argyle.
yeah.
I got some sweet baby blue Argyles I wanted to bust out, and she's
Yeah.
like, no. I'm like, come on, those are
Like Proud
those are
90,
Royal and Awesome.
Proud 90, Bad Birdie, all of the newer
Yes.
golf brands have like the
Yes.
wild and outlandish prints that are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you should. Life's short, man.
Talk to R&R about carrying that.
Yeah.
Because
awesome.
they're always on the edge of cutting edge of doing stuff
Yeah,
too. So,
that's cool.
but no, a rainy evening as we record this on Thursday, and
Real rainy.
Yeah, very much so. We have a great guest coming up though, but we've got some stuff to talk about beforehand. You wanted to talk about the WNBA.
Yeah, it's all over social media. And let me tell you, I want to go ahead and preface this by saying I don't know my head from my ass when it comes to any sports, especially women's sports, right? Because let's be honest, they aren't always as popular, or they may be up and coming, but they're not always as popular as male sports, because I think that the longevity and just the fanfare and the following, right, it does kind of impact it. But the WNBA, the topic at hand is the pay disparity, right? Equality, which is a huge thing everywhere you go now. And I'm not saying I'm against it, but I did some research because Frankie posted something about the WNBA and equality, and I thought it was really interesting because, yeah, I want everybody to get the same pay, but then I did some more research, and I was looking at the percentage of revenue that male basketball players get in the NBA versus percentage of pay that female basketball players get in the WNBA according to their revenue. And it kind of stacks up as far as percentage, but the thing that differentiates them is their it's like the collective bargaining agreements, right? So in male sports, they get a percentage of like airtime, broadcasting
TV revenue,
rights, right?
That's the big thing.
Yeah, and they get a certain percentage of what they bring in, whereas the female players do not. So then I said, well, maybe if we leveled the playing field there as far as agreements.
Like they don't at all.
Well, I think they get a certain percentage of something. But if you look at their bargaining agreements, they're completely different. So I thought maybe, well, if you make the bargaining agreements the same, maybe it would create the equality. It's not going to create the same pay because they're not making the same amount of money. Mm-hmm. But then I learned this little interesting nugget that the WNBA actually loses over $10 million a year.
It's subsidized. Many of the same owners own both teams.
Yeah.
So
the NBA
does subsidize.
They subsidize
WNBA
over
quite a
$15 million
bit.
a year for the WNBA to continue.
I think that could change. They might get more television money now. There's a couple of things to look at. The most recent college basketball championship games that we just had, the women's game outdrew the audience for the men's game.
Yeah.
And again, that's because Iowa was playing, and Caitlin Clark's on Iowa, and she's the real deal.
She's the GOAT.
So,
And the marketing behind it.
and the marketing behind it, and also I thought there was another reason though, and the fact that they played the women's game championship game at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Sunday when a lot of people are watching sports.
Right.
The tip-off of the men's game was like 9:30 Eastern time on Monday night. Mm-hmm. That's just really late. But I still think that the women's more people watched the women's game because more people were interested in it because of
there's
the
notoriety
because of the what it has generated through Caitlin Clark's career. I mean, I bet I watched 10 Iowa basketball games.
I
this
watched
year.
more basketball this year, which is 4 minutes of a game, than I ever have, and it's because of the kind of the fanfare or the conversation surrounding it. I say.
I watched the Iowa women play more than I watched the Missouri men because the Missouri men were god awful this year. They were very bad.
So you're saying that, longevity, because I look at it as a business. So originally I was like, oh, equality, because it's really easy to jump on that bandwagon where you want women and men to be equal, right? As far as their earning capability. That's as
Sure,
far as I go
absolutely.
with equality and stuff like that, right? And autonomy and other blah, 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 blah. But as far as sports, earning equality is definitely important. But then I shifted gears after doing research, and I'm like, from a purely business standpoint, when you have a business that's losing money year after year after year, the last thing you're going to do is increase salaries, right? And that's what everybody's talking about. Well, Caitlin Clark only makes this, and this guy for the NBA makes this. Well, I think there is potential to level that playing field, but it's going to take a little bit of time because the NBA is how old and how many teams do they have nationwide? And, so it's just not equal yet. I think there is potential. But I don't think we can jump off and totally boycott the entire organization because there's a little bit of disparity there.
Because the television revenue from the NBA is still using very round numbers.
Yeah.
But it's probably 10 times what the WNBA number is.
I think it's so I looked, it's $60 million revenue for the WNBA, and the NBA is like $6 billion.
Yeah.
So
something like
it's
that.
pretty big. It's pretty big numbers.
But they also, the Indiana Fever, the team that drafted Caitlin Clark, they're going to have, of their 40 some odd games, they're going to have like 35 of them on national television, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
Which is great though. And because they have 4 or 5 channels that carry WNBA now. So again, I don't think it's going to be equal for a long, long time, but I think it can certainly, the gap can certainly close.
Yeah.
And again, she's just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, she throws it up from everywhere and hits it. I mean,
I think she definitely put WNBA on the map.
Yeah, I mean,
For sure.
Again, their draft was also the highest rated draft that they've ever had.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. And some of the other players, I mean, that's the thing. It's the whole, kind of an analogy we try to use here is a rising tide will lift all boats. Is the fact that I'm watching the WNBA draft and I knew probably 5, 6 of the players who were taken in the first 15, 20 picks. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, I watched her because she was playing against Iowa or whatever. So, Angel Reese, she got drafted by Chicago. She's the one who has
exciting.
she has
Yeah.
Brittany's eyelashes.
Yeah, I love her.
And she's going to go to Chicago, and Chicago got the best player from South Carolina as well. So the Chicago team's going to be really good. I think that when Indiana and Chicago play each other in WNBA, I think that's going to be a very tough ticket to get.
Yeah.
So anyway, good.
So it's happening.
Yeah,
the
it
ball is in motion, right?
It is.
Pun
And she
intended.
kind of put
but-
that in motion too,
Yeah.
because to backpedal real quick, she had an offer, made by Ice Cube,
Yes, not Ice T.
Ice T.
He's on SVU.
Yeah. Okay. So Ice Cube and offered her $5 million to play in his, what was it called, the
Big Three.
the Big Three tournament, and that airs I think on CBS. So it would be TV time still, and I don't know. It's just kind of weird to think that in her hands could have changed the entire game.
Yeah.
You
But
know.
she's also, again, her salary of $78,000,
Yeah.
or whatever it was.
Ish.
She's going to get $10 million from Nike.
Yeah.
She's already getting money from State Farm.
Yeah, all the
But don't
endorsements.
you think she
Hy-Vee.
got those endorsements with Ice's deal as well?
I don't know because it's not really associated with that large of an organization. I don't think.
But she's still Caitlin Clark.
She could have,
So
but I
she
think
really could have turned.
But I think she
had
ma-
that all in her hands.
Hopefully, she's
and
looking
that's
at it like.
scary.
Hopefully, she's looking
for
at
her.
it like I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of quote unquote salary,
Mm-hmm.
even though she's making more from endorsements, to raise this organization to the level of
Yes.
what it can be in promoting Title IX, in promoting fairness and equality in earnings in professional sports. I mean. Everyone can argue about it, which everyone does, but I think what she did, whether she did it on purpose or not, is going to lend very well to the world of women's basketball.
Yeah.
No, I think so. I think she definitely wanted to. Hey, I want to see if I can help make the WNBA viable.
Yeah.
And I think, and to her,
Very cool.
Better kudos to her.
Yeah.
For doing that.
And in the meantime, people who are arguing about the pay, I just had, where do the players stand? Or is this just another equality group that's meddling to kind of create divide and division and, undermine the whole, the foundation of of these sports and equality as a whole, like, just butt out. If this is working for everybody but you who have no skin in the game, shut up, right?
Yeah. I
So-
mean, yeah, again, she signed the contract. It's not, or
Yeah.
she's going to sign the contract. Not like she's holding out for more money or
Yeah.
trying to change the salary
She
cap
made her
or do all
choice.
that. She's going to go with it, and then she's banking on that in 5 years the WNBA is going to be much more popular,
Yep.
and they are going to have much more revenue, and she'll get her cut of that as well, along with her Nike money or State Farm money or Hy-Vee
Yeah.
money. and
Let's
all
be
the other
honest, she's
stuff.
not struggling.
Yeah, no.
And good for her.
Yeah.
Because she deserves it.
Yeah, no, it's
'cause we're
yeah.
here talking about her. So
Again,
she's doing
and
the right
just
things.
an absolutely fantastic player. So
But speaking of, kind of undermining the foundation of things, one of the things locally we've been talking about, of course, is dun 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 the roundabout. Okay, and we were talking about city versus county, and we talk about Quincy as a community, and there are some people who are really butthurt about not getting
love
the
that
roundabout.
word.
Well, I mean, it's true. I don't know how else to say it. Their feelings are hurt. That sounds a little. I don't know what I would rather. I don't know, but it just seems like it's quickly just comments that I'm seeing. It's kind of undermining the thread of our community, and I hate to see it. I understand it, but I hate to see it. I think there's one. I mean, Camper, who we love, right? I'm not going to call him out, but I know he is the one who said, "Well, it's their problem now."
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that kind of mindset, although that is probably how he feels, is.
But it's not just him. That trickles down.
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
there is some bad blood, and it's obvious. It wasn't always he was the one that publicly said it, but it is there. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of nerve wracking, I guess, as a citizen or in the community, knowing that your city and your county are kind of at war over a roundabout.
I think war is a strong word, but I do like where you're going with it, because it does seem like there's just some angst. That has it always been like this, or is it just that one agreement?
no,
that
there's always been
Really?
there's always been a little bit of a rivalry between the two.
Okay.
When the city left, remember back when I first came to Quincy and was working in the news.
No,
the
I
city,
don't remember.
You don't remember because you're babies.
we were babies.
The city and county were all in the courthouse. It was all the same place.
Okay.
And the city then moved it and put its own city hall in '93. So, and then they left, and then when the new jail was built, I thought it was very surprising that they actually did work together, and the police department moved, and they had to move because the police department was in that god awful basement over there. So there's always been this rivalry and this snipping back and forth. The city council has always derided the county board and called them the junior varsity. That's been something that's
Ooh.
been stated.
Those fighting words,
at
boy.
many, it's been stated
Okay.
at many beers over many establishments. So I think there's just not a lot of getting along right now, and I don't know when that's going to change. I don't see it changing in the current scheme of things, but who knows?
That kind of stinks, though, because Quincy is then the hub of it both. It's all of Adams County, but then it's the city of Quincy that's in.
Think you've
We
got
are
this
one.
St. Louis City and St. Louis County. Good Lord, they make Quincy City, the city of Quincy and Adams County look like best buddies.
Well, Quincy is
'Cause
not.
St. Louis and city
Quincy
and
is not
county
St.
are-
Louis, nor do we ever want to be. I mean,
Well,
I love St. Louis,
I'm just
but
saying
Quincy
it's-
is.
That's
better than
bad
that.
down there. What they argue over argue over lots of big dollar things.
Is there any
big
argument
dollar
over the remodeling of the county?
things. The jail?
No, aren't they doing
The
rehab
courthouse.
to the courthouse? Yeah.
I don't really think the city. Does the
The
city
city,
have
So it doesn't
has
have anything to do with that?
No,
Okay.
no, it's all the county trying to figure out what to do next with the HVAC and all that. So no, that's that. There's no dogs in that fight by the city. So it's just.
Can't we all just get along?
Well, just if somebody wants a roundabout, just go to a parking lot and drive around a bunch. It'll make you feel better.
Yeah, that's true. So I was even talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, "Well, I just don't know why it's such a big deal. It's not like people can't figure it out." I was like, "I don't know. I beg to differ on that, but I'll let those sleeping dogs lie." But I was
Okay.
like, "I don't know. I don't think it's any need to. I think the vote's been made. Move on." And I didn't want to bring it up, but I kind of want to just put it to bed. It is what it is.
I mean, like I said, it's done. It's
Yeah.
done. So
It is what it is.
I think they'll, it'll be a four-way stop for a long, long time. I don't think they'll do anything else to it. But that's
Well,
just me.
Yeah, but
So no statue.
No,
Not
no
yet.
statue.
Not yet.
No.
All right, we'll work on that.
Yeah,
No.
we'll
put
continue
you on
working
one of
that.
the corners.
But speaking of threads, and this one, is a very strong thread throughout our community and has been for a very, very long time. Our next guest is here to talk about that thread, and I'm excited. I don't get to talk to our guests, but I get to sit over there and spectate and partake in some imbibing.
Are you going to push buttons?
No, you know how bad I am at that. I can try.
We all get
but-
whiplash.
Yeah. I'm just not good.
Shane came in and figured it out in one day.
Yeah,
know.
well, listen, Shane's a man. Maybe he's better at it than I am. Let's
stop. We don't talk about all this equality and women's rights, and then you're all subservient all of a sudden.
No, I want to tell
you're
you
gonna
this.
bake cookies
no,
now.
let me just put
Shane's better than
let
me.
me put
He's a
this on the line.
man.
Here, let me just put this on the
You
line.
also-
As much as I want, here's where I talked about earnings, right? Okay, so men and women, in my opinion, are not the same. Okay, I want to be protected and treated as a queen.
Mars and Venus.
All right. I never want to be the girl who's expected to lay my coat down over a puddle for a man, because I'll be like, listen, I didn't date a woman, but I dated a man who was a bitch. So you know what I'm saying? Like I am woman. I want to be treated as a queen, and that's just where I stand. I do want to make as much as you if I'm doing the same job.
And,
that's
and
where
you
I stand.
should.
Yeah.
I am woman, hear me roar, but still bring me flowers and buy me dinner.
Amen. Amen. Yeah.
I like this.
Right?
Speaking of buying you dinner, we're going to talk to a guy where you can go buy dinner at his place, and it's the best in town.
Absolutely.
One of the best.
Absolutely.
I got a lot of people pleasing advertisers. It's one of the best.
No,
How's
yeah,
that?
right. We can't pick favorites, although we all know we have them, right?
All right.
All right.
We'll be right back.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
A&B Properties is Quincy's largest apartment rental company with hundreds of units available. They offer short-term and long-term rentals with 1 up to 4 bedroom apartments. A&B Properties meets the needs of its tenants with care, compassion, and a quality of service that exceeds expectations. A&B Properties also has a convenient tenant app for you to do your payments or make repair requests. Give them a call today. A&B Properties, 217-919-8080, Quincy. Ryan Tanner, welcome.
Hello.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you for having me.
Thanks
Thank you,
for
thank you.
thanks for stopping by. Glad you could make it in town.
Sure.
You flew in. Your arms are tired.
Very. Well, I was up at almost cussed. 3:30.
You can actually cuss on this.
That's right. That's right.
This is
This is the
Yeah.
club.
This is-
Welcome
this
to
is
the
true.
club.
This is PG-13.
Yeah, I'm so
Sometimes
generally
are.
trying to edit, but
Not
Actually,
me.
Ashley, sometimes are.
I was about like, not me.
Yeah.
I'm an angel.
yeah, it was tired. I was, woke up at 3:30. I think I told you I went to bed late. Was with clients last night, and I had every intention of driving. We got home. I said, Jay, I can't do this drive tomorrow. So booked a last minute flight, and I felt very spoiled.
Good.
I'm glad you made it with
Yeah.
the rain too.
Yeah.
When
Well, I
you
was
said
here
you
bu-
were flying, I was like, oh.
I landed in St. Louis at 7:30.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
a fast turnaround.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's quick.
Yeah.
Very quick.
The folks watching might notice we've switched. Brittany and I have switched beverages because Ryan brought the signature espresso martini. Is that
think
what
so.
they are?
They are by Mama Teresa.
Your favorite?
They are definitely one of my favorites. Okay, so one of my favorite parts about the brunch at the patio, they serve these at brunch, and I'm like, it's perfectly acceptable to drink a espresso martini at brunch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Duh.
Yeah.
especially when they're this delicious. But
If
what do you
you're-
mean, duh?
If you're gonna have a Bloody Mary or a mimosa, why wouldn't you have an espresso martini?
Because these bad mama jammas are it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The taste does work.
All right, so
I haven't had one.
You have not
never-
had one.
No, this is you're breaking me in.
Holy moly.
okay,
Okay.
he takes his
No
coffee
way. All right.
with just cream. So here's your coffee
Well-
with. I won't say everything that they use.
No, don't
They-
spoil the secret.
No, I
Cheers.
won't. Cheers.
Okay.
To muddy.
To muddy.
Too muddy, and my God, that's fantastic.
Would you like
The
your
only-
Would you like your coffee like this every morning now?
Are you bringing it?
I couldn't do that. But
It's the only drink where you're sober and drunk at the same time.
My
Yeah,
goodness,
because it's
it's one of those. Wow. It's jazzy.
yeah.
that's
The
fantastic.
beans we use are really special too. So it is a perfect concoction of of a bunch of things. So,
Kudos, sir. This is awesome.
It's not my idea. It's all Teresa.
Really?
She said, "Don't ask."
Don't ask.
Yeah.
Don't.
She's already told you. She said.
Well, I mean, that's the best part about like Teresa's a good bartender.
Yeah.
You don't ask. You don't tell.
Yeah.
Because you've tried on your own and you can't quite get it, right?
I can get my own version, but I mean, yeah, I prefer it when somebody else does it. Obviously.
That's the special part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't really want to know what's behind the curtain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some of the other, like I said, when I was at the patio about a couple months ago, when I told you I had the nap chop, it was fantastic. But you also have one of my favorite scotches there that is top shelf, Lagavulin.
Oh.
And it's a single malt Islay. And it's very peaty is the word, very peaty.
And it's those who know about it are very lucky.
Yeah.
But it takes a while to convince people.
Because you can't. There's very few places that have it.
Yeah.
And it's very few places that sell it. I have to. I'll try to stay loyal to my friends at the liquor booth, obviously, but they don't carry it. So if ever I'm in Springfield, Rockford, or Bloomington, where my kids, or Chicago, where my kids are, I will go to Benny's and get my Lagavulin there. And there's the Lagavulin 8, but if I want to spoil myself, I'll get the 16.
Go big.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a difference.
It's an acquired taste, I would say.
Yeah,
I think it tastes like a Band-Aid. So
dirt.
What is that
Yeah.
taste?
Dirt.
Is that,
I mean,
That's
I've
what
never
my
tasted a Band-Aid,
Randy
but it's just not
Randy
my thing.
Phillips, who does a lot of video work for us, he's a Scotch guy, but he's
that's who you mentioned the other day,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
He's a Glenlivet guy, but yeah, he's not a fan of my Lagavulin, but I'll drink his Glenlivet when he brings it, and he's always good at the Christmas parties to bring a bottle of something good.
Well, that is a good friend.
Yes.
I find it it's so unusual because there's so many things in Tulsa, in Oklahoma, we can get. We used to have a little mixology bar there that we can't get here, and vice versa.
Sure.
It's just it's sort of so mind-boggling, and the allocation process for Illinois is way different than Oklahoma. It's really hard to get things here.
But you can get Busch Light in Tulsa.
You can. And here.
Yes.
5 of them earlier. Just kidding. But so it's been interesting figuring that process out for Illinois.
When you, I'm stepping on a turf for a minute, but yeah, talk about the bar and why you do serve certain things that you're trying to get the community maybe a little acclimated to or to try. And at what point do you say, this isn't working, we're going to swap it out?
Well, those are 2 really great questions. The first is we wanted the patio to be transportive. I loved growing up here, and I love my life in Tulsa, and I love my time when I'm in New York. But when I'm in New York, I can go get great Chinese. And so you walk into a restaurant, and you're instantly transported somewhere.
Yeah.
If they're doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can go to any fast food restaurant, and there are a lot of restaurants that feel very similar in most cities. They kind of emulate each other. We didn't feel like it was worth doing if we were going to look and feel like we did previously or like any other restaurant. So it was really important to us that when you walked from the moment you walked in the door to your dessert, that everything felt transportive, that for a brief moment, for just a little crack, you were somewhere else. That's not to say that Quincy is bad. That's not to say that Tulsa is bad. That's not to say that New York is bad. It's just to be transported for just a moment for $50.
Okay, where are we being transported to?
Wherever you want to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so many people tell me so many different things when they're in the restaurant.
But there are places that you go where you don't feel like you're there. There are places in Springfield that you go into Springfield and it's like, well, I don't feel like I'm in Springfield. There's places here I don't feel like. But then there's places that you go, it's like, oh, I'm Quincy, I'm home.
That's right.
And it's the feel. It's what you want to do and how you want to to express yourself. And again, to go to the patio is to say, okay, I'm gonna I love a good tenderloin and fries and all that stuff, but hey, I want a chop, or I want this, or I want that, and that's the variety is what you want. You don't want every place to be the same thing.
Yeah, we want it. It's supposed to be multi-sensorial, the whole entire experience, from the sound to the lighting, to the plateware that we've picked, to the glassware, to the tabletops. But we've kept, of course, the original 1959 chairs, and we repowder coated them, And we've kept the domes, and we've kept the cylinder walls by John Binya. And so we've tried to keep, we talked about being transportive when we designed the restaurant. We wanted and nostalgic. And for those of us who grew up here, even if they only went once from high school, you still needed to have a hint of it. It needed to be still part of the DNA, but not so different that it's unrecognizable. But to your second question, which was, how do we decide what we're going to keep and not keep? We get the best advice we could have gotten when we were doing this. Someone said, you need to call Kent Adams. I said, all right. So we called Kent Adams.
Good call.
He had the whole menu. He goes, Ryan, this is not familiar. This menu is too unrecognizable. Remember I said it needs to still feel. He goes, you've got us. You're taking folks on a journey. If in 5 years you want to be here at this menu, which I hope I could have this, he loved that. For him, that menu would be perfect right now. But he knew that menu was not going to work for Quincy.
Right.
And that has been, those types of moments have been so important to us.
Who is Kent Adams?
Oh my goodness.
Kent, his family used to own the Miller Beer distributorship,
So he's
Mississippi
just
Bell.
a consultant for you.
No, he just turned around. It was just a friend.
And now but then he's been
Wonderful friend
he's
now.
been the insurance, but his family, Mark Adams was his brother, and then he's been like in insurance and stuff like that. But yeah, he's a good guy. He's kind of he's a worldly guy, and I used to go breakfast with him pretty regularly, and he's got really exceptional taste in things too, and he's got a good nose and a good ear, and he's got a really great voice.
Yes.
he's actually got a voice that I sometimes go, man, I wish I had your pipes.
Yeah.
So
He's a good dude.
he is a really good dude.
Yes.
And but yeah, so that's that's to take some good advice from Kent. That's for sure.
The patio has evolved a little bit since you've taken it over, and like you had your grand reopening. We've made some changes. I don't want to say we, but like
It is a collective effort.
yeah, I mean, because it is a huge part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
How was it like? Is the community the reason why we like that you made the changes, or
Sure.
I guess what were those changes and why did you do them?
Well, I think if you're going to be in the customer service business, then you have to listen to customers. And that is a fault that so many different companies make. No matter if you're in hospitality, entertainment, healthcare, all the sectors that we're in, whenever you stop listening to your customer, the person who's paying the bills, you're dead on arrival. And so, for example, a la carte.
Oh, I remember that.
When I tried, and I was kind of hell-bent determined.
I know. I told
said-
you otherwise too.
Yeah, I'm not changing it. And it took me 2.5
I know.
years, and I did. And you know what? Ultimately, the folks are still kind of paying about the same price. But
Yeah.
they like that they come in and they know that they're getting. They like what they know. They know that what they get there is similar to what they get down the road. So that was too much of a departure for them. So just listening is just so important. And then to finish the question, our most asked question, no matter where I've been, when's pasta night coming back? When's pasta night coming back? And I never.
Oh yeah, never.
Never.
But it came back.
Never say
I
never.
know, I
Never
know,
say never.
I know. Well, and here's the reason why it was, for me, why it was a no, was it was a buffet. Now,
Yeah.
and I grew up going to buffets, and I kind of became a fluffy kid. I was 340 pounds.
I liked my buffets.
Yeah, I was 337.
Okay.
I can't, I can't be near a buffet. That's a real thing. So for me, it was just a hard no. Plus, if you remember, we had the unfortunate
Yeah.
moment of buying. We closed on the patio the day the market, everything collapsed in 2020, March 19th.
Yeah.
I'm writing the check. My attorney has COVID. We've got to get the deal done. It's, we're acquiring all these various assets, plateware, chairs, tables, everything. So everything is, it was really crazy. And Jay is just like, we're writing this check for apartments and a restaurant
On the day that restaurants
Today.
close.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that was the day that restaurants closed.
It was really
March
really bad. It was March 19th.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
we have very much enjoyed it, but immediately we obviously knew that buffets really probably weren't the ideal. And for me, it's still no.
Yeah.
Right.
But
But you can work. There's a workaround.
We have met the moment. That's
Yes.
what we try to do. As Teresa says, Ryan, we always come from a place of yes, right? Because that's been our motto with our teams, and that is true until it's not. Until it gets to me.
Yeah.
So pasta night is back, but a different version of it. So it's not all you can eat, but it is at a prefixed price at $25 and $14 for kiddos.
also, good luck eating it all.
Yeah. That's
Still.
yeah.
Yeah, still, and you get to choose from 5 different pastas. It includes salad, cheesecake. It's $14 for the kiddos. They get to design their own pasta. It's kind of fun. And now the people that have been saying, "When's pasta night coming?" and I have not seen them. I'll randomly check in, look at the customer list of who's been there and who I do check the list. All of a sudden,
Nice.
yeah. So, and it didn't change anything about the restaurant.
What night is pasta night?
Thursday.
It's Thursday
It's
still.
Thursday. Yes. Yep.
Excellent.
Yep. Thursdays. Yeah.
I like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like going, yeah. Why are we here?
We're transported.
Better scheduling next week.
No kidding.
Better scheduling. Well, that's awesome, though. I think, like you said, I think that's a huge win. And no, it doesn't have to be a buffet as long as you're getting your pasta and you get your Alfredo sauce or your red sauce or your mix or whatever. And
it's all there.
Yeah,
it's all there.
That's great.
Some other events coming up with the patio is prom.
Prom is so
big.
it's a big deal, and what we've learned is we just kind of always have from now through kind of the end a prom menu because so many towns kind of get upset if they don't have their own prom night at the patio. So it's just basically prom. But of course we have Notre Dame, then we have QHS, and it's a lot of fun. For our first prom, when we opened in 21. We had prom, and we did a whole red carpet moment. And what was so wonderful about that particular moment was there were families that hadn't seen each other because of COVID. So we have this full-on prom moment outside with a huge step and repeat. And you've got grandmothers meeting their 2-month-old grandbabies for the first time.
Oh.
And
It was a real red carpet.
If that's
event.
not, and to me, that is the patio.
Yeah.
The patio is about people and purpose and intention, and not because of something we've done, but because of the 65-year-old tradition that Dave and Rita, came up with, which is, by the way, it's 65 years this year.
Wow.
And so that prom is super important to us because it's about memories.
Our youngest son was a senior at QHS in 21, so he went there with his friends for dinner because they were A-building kids. Because Kathy said,
as one does. Yes.
Kathy said, go there. And we took all the pictures. We let the kids eat. We didn't let the kids, but then we took all the pictures outside and did all that. We took the pictures there. Then we took the pictures across the street. But at the time, you hadn't done anything to across the street yet.
Yes.
And now across the street is beautiful.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
The Armory is such a unique space for a couple of reasons. One, no one knows it's there. No, when I tell them, or when they say, "Oh, I read in the paper that you and Megan and Ryan Fisher bought the old Armory and you're converting it into this," I'm like, "Where is it?" I go, "The building across the street." No, there's no. And then they kind of get into an argument with me. I'm like, I take them out there. We go out there. I go right there, and they're like, "Oh, that." But they just drove right past it. They just kind of walked right past it.
It blends in.
It blends. It really does.
It
does
does.
blend
It
really
does.
beautiful. But for us, the city had been so great to redo Jersey from 5th to 4th. Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
it needed it.
It really, really needed it. It really, really needed it. And it really is a beautiful intersection now. And even across the street, I mean, it's created a moment, and we've turned that corner around. When I told our friends I'm buying the patio in the Elkton, no one said, "Well, it's called the Welcome In 2.0." Didn't know that till I got here. I go, what the hell does that mean?
I got here.
What the hell does Welcome In 2.0 mean?
You had a certain clientele.
Yeah, I found out. But the whole intersection. And so now, though, to go from that to, we tried doing lunch outside. It's just the weather in that, right on Jersey, the wind is just so strong. And the heat at 6 o'clock, which is what time everybody in Quincy wants to eat. In the summer, it's just too hot. But we went from people feeling unsafe to being able to have, a 4-course dinner outside. That is what you call change.
Yeah. And then speaking of change, and like you said, found out, we won't really delve into what your feelings were on that, but you changed it, and it is something completely different.
Yep.
You're actually living there yourself now,
yeah,
right?
we're living in the building, and I can look out my apartment. I can see the Armory.
That's awesome.
And I mean, when I drive up often from Oklahoma, and I take my on my dad's side they lived in Hannibal, so we always cross the Mississippi River in Hannibal. We don't cross the river here in Quincy. So when you're driving up and you make that curve, that turn at the Oakley Lindsay Center, and you turn on to 4th Street, and you're now all of a sudden you see all these cars, all these people, all these kids, all going to either the Patio or the Armory and talking about memories. I mean, for us, Jay and I are both experience-based people. And we've been so fortunate with Megan and Ryan to have met just the best partners. We've only had one business partner in our whole life prior to them.
Wow.
And we got lucky with him, and we've just incredibly blessed with them. I mean, they are the powerhouse behind that experience over there. And we sometimes have to text them and say we feel a little guilty because they're really the ones. They push input. That's them. And it is kind of nice for the second time in my life not to be pushing so hard.
Why do you say the second time? What was the
Well,
first
our
time?
first time was about our previous business partner we had on another business.
What's what is that business?
Healthcare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that's kind of the backbone. That is what allows us.
That's the steam engine, right?
It is. We would say, for us, at least as it relates to the Elkton and the Armory, both of those are passion projects for us. The bank building, totally different. But
we'll get to that.
Yes, we'll
But,
get to
like,
that.
but-
Speaking of road
but
construction,
those are
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, those are passion projects. But healthcare is we're really fortunate. I've been in it for 22 years. What I've learned, Jay and I, and we are contractually obligated to be there tomorrow morning in so many ways.
Yeah.
But we do everything together. And so when we first started dating, I was just starting my first company, and Jay was living in New York and waiting tables and trying to get Shrek and trying to get in, all these roles. And he said, "Well, I'll move."
Plays
In musicals, yes. He said, "Well, I'll move to Oklahoma." He's from Broken Arrow, same high school as one of your favorites, Kristen Chenoweth. Yeah.
We'll get that too. We'll get to that too.
And he said, "Well, I'll move back home for $45,000." I said, "So you're wanting me to pay you $45,000 to move home?"
So you got yourself a mail order.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
But
Wow.
it was direct, and I signed, and I said, "This, do this." So that's how it all happened. But we've grown our healthcare companies into something we're incredibly proud of, because if you can get what we do in healthcare, which is on one side orthopedics, implants, and design, and manufacturing and support, we're in thousands of procedures a year in 4 states, and then on the other side, we do ambulatory diagnosis of epilepsy, so EEGs. When you're the right hand of a surgeon or a physician, that is an incredible faith that they put in you. And so,
My armpits would be sweating.
yeah, it's very intense, but that has really made us so focused and confident and risk adverse. And so we're not as passionate about healthcare as we are about the Patio and the Armory, but we love what we do in healthcare.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. And also, but then when you also talk about that, you are also, your involvement with your productions in musicals and stuff. Again, that's another I mean, that's certainly a passion project for both of you. Like you said, that was kind of, Jay's background. And, of course, you had a lot of that when growing up here, in Quincy. And so, yeah, I mean, I get that. But, again, we do things, like I said, if you want to equate it to what we do, muddyriver.com is, news.com is like the engine. It's the news stories. It's you find out what's happening in the community, boom, boom, boom. And then you have Club Muddy where you can drink chocolate martinis.
Yeah, these are not
So-
chocolate espresso.
Espresso
You're
martinis.
all jacked up on
I am.
coffee.
He's gonna walk in asking for the chocolate
know.
chocolate
Kind of
martini.
chocolate martini.
And they're gonna say, wait. Teresa's gonna say, we don't have one.
Exactly.
So,
You touched on the play and
Yeah.
the musical. Let's talk about that a little bit. You got a couple of them actually in.
Yeah. We have 3 in the works. One that
Okay.
just we have several, but 3 that are
Currently
going
running.
to Broadway.
Yeah.
We just opened Outsiders by S.E. Hinton last week, and the film by Francis Ford Coppola, whose wife died, by the way, the same night.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The same night that it
Oh,
opened?
yeah.
Oh.
And she, in her own right, was a mega creative in film and entertainment. And so we've been involved in that project since 2019.
Okay.
And, of course, it takes place the plot is Tulsa. I mean, it takes place in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Right.
But you
And-
put your spin on it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Or, well,
yeah,
they-
it is now completely reimagined. I mean, I think that's what we try to do. We don't want to. If there's no if you're not going to be unique and different, for us, we don't want to do it.
Right.
Don't do the same thing. Put
Yeah.
your spin on it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we opened on Thursday. We have an extraordinary cast. We have 16 Broadway debuts, which is ginormous. That means there are 16 kids giving their parents the middle finger for telling them
They'll
you're
never,
never going to make
be on
it.
Broadway.
You're never going to be on Broadway. And here I am. It's me, that Kristen Chenoweth, and this mom, and then an aunt, and they're just uncontrollably crying. You've got Angelina Jolie. I mean, it's just
Oh, my God.
and it really is a middle finger moment.
It is.
for these kids who have been
He
so
sent me
right.
a link that Angelina Jolie got a tattoo. And it said "Stay Gold,"
Yes,
which I thought was awesome. You know how I feel about that.
she's pretty badass.
And then, okay, so Kristen Chenoweth, how in real life, how tall is she? Am I taller than her?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know. You can't judge because she wears those
But she's so
massive
tiny.
heels.
And television puts weight on you. So imagine how she is in real life.
She is so big though of a force. Like I
Yes.
mean that voice and everything.
He had played, before when we were in the green room, he played something for me from her, and I was blown away.
We did another.
She is in
Wow.
another play that you're.
Musical.
Sorry, God.
That's
oh my
okay.
God.
we
You know why?
Give
You know I
me
get
the
that?
A
Because I had
building.
3 A building kids, and every time I'd say, what's the play? They'd say, it's a musical.
Oh, listen,
Yes,
stab
listen,
me
yes,
now
yes,
because
that's okay.
I'm going to hear about this later. It was a musical. He, my husband, reminded
Yeah.
me over and over and over.
Yeah.
Do not call it a play. Do not call it a play.
It's perfectly acceptable.
Sorry.
I get it. You
Okay,
don't
so
agree-
the musical, The Queen of Versailles.
Yeah.
Some people call it Versailles around here. I'm just telling you.
Well, I think it was you and I were
Yes, I asked how to say it, and then he asked me today.
Well,
I go, it's Versailles,
It's
don't you
Versailles.
know?
Well, I said, it's actually hard to spell.
It is.
You have to think about it because we haven't been. How many times in your life have you typed that out, right?
I don't actually
Only
know
when
the
you're in
whole-
Brown County.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
about it.
I don't know the whole story behind it. Mike was trying to spiel it out for me, and then I don't
Yeah.
know. So what is the whole story about the Queen of Versailles?
Well, it's based on the 2012 documentary of Jackie and David Siegel, and they are the timeshare. They created timeshares. So if you think about the money behind the person who controls the majority of timeshares throughout the world, it's this family. But they lost it all. And then they got it back times 2, times 3, times 4. And it tells her story. It's really about her. It's about Jackie, which is played by Kristen Chenoweth.
Mm-hmm.
And you think you know her, but you don't from the documentary. Because there's a series on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
check
and
this
now
out. I'm
to
always
part-
looking
and-
for
yeah,
something.
the second season is I think is completed, but hasn't started yet. But it's music and lyrics by Stephen Schwartz. So Stephen and Kristen are back together for the first time in 20 years since that little bitty show that no one liked in the reviews called Wicked.
Wicked, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought everyone liked that.
No, it didn't.
Sarcasm.
Yeah.
What?
It's awesome. It's so good.
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you know, the film is coming out, part one of Wicked at Thanksgiving. But Kristen has just really consumed this role of Jackie. And Kristen, this is the first time that she's a producer on a show. So she has often been charged with creating a role, right? Getting paid for that role during that time the show runs. She walks away from the show, as all actors and all actresses do. And then for the rest of the history of that character, no matter what, you still follow the first interpretation. You interpret that basically to like 99% to what they did. And now Glinda, the good from Wicked, is this, infamous, if not famous, character that is in the hearts and minds of millions of people around the world. And so much of that is her. And so now, though, with Queen of Versailles, she's forever and ever, she's going to actually make money for the continuation of that show. And what it says to our investors is, hey, listen, this really has to work because not only she's starring in it, but I'm producing it. And so this is, when she reached out to me, she said, this is going to be a hit. And I believe her.
Well, I mean, she's one of the current queens of Broadway right now. She really is. She's Broadway royalty right now. I mean, and for you to have this partnership with her and with Stephen Schwartz is pretty damn impressive.
I had an opportunity to meet her several years ago at her. She has a Broadway boot camp in Broken Arrow, and I went into full panic, ugly Oprah cry, and I couldn't do it.
I would do the same thing. She starred in Glee.
Yeah.
And so that was my go-to when it was like my pregnancy ice cream,
Oh, my goodness.
Glee. I binge watched Glee. So she was, I would die.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened.
She's, like I said, a force. So
She
small.
is. She
but
is.
Yes.
So big.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's a powerhouse, and I mean, again, I'm really looking forward to.
It's a beautiful music. It's a beautiful music. I mean, it's a Baroque. It's kind of very expressive and dominant in terms of the notes and the music, but she does it all. She does it all. And we'll be running in Boston this summer, and then we're either going to, I assume we'll open in January or February of 25 in New York.
You have no idea which theater yet? Is that a negotiating thing?
I can't say.
Can't say yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It gets me in deep shit.
That's
by her.
understandable. Yeah. Oh no, I totally get that.
It's nice to be hired by her.
Yeah.
Not great to be fired by her.
Oh no, absolutely. So
She does it all, and then you do it all too. So we were talking about, and I backed you up on that, but it was just so you have, you started off with the medical field, and then all your passion projects. I don't say all, but I mean, you have a lot of passion projects. Another passion project that's coming up is the Boutique Hotel.
Yeah.
And
and 6th Street's all torn up, and by the time it's done, they'll be ready for you to get rolling.
yes.
No need to have it open now,
By the
so it's
time
great.
it's-
Your timing was great.
or it could be really bad. People might say, "Well, dang, why couldn't you guys have done the hotel, then the street, and now it's beautiful?"
Totally
You know how it's going to go.
understandable. Yeah, I hit you. So where are we at on it?
Where are we on it? Where we are on it is, it's so expensive.
Sure.
Holy moly! I mean, when we bought the property, we had already existing bids for apartments. And that bid wouldn't have worked for a hotel, so we wouldn't got new bids for a hotel. And it was pretty extensive. I mean, it wasn't like it was a casual approach to the bidding process. It was very serious, and it came back. I mean, I think it was $11 or $12 million or something along those lines. But when you take into the federal tax credits, and if you're so lucky to get the Illinois state tax credits, which is almost impossible, then it's 45% off. Most of the building, most of the project. There are a lot of things that aren't included in that. But then all of a sudden, you have to well, sometimes I think folks don't realize is you have so many rooms times so many nights minus your cost and then your profit. That's the way it goes. And, at that price, it worked really well. But then when we went through the design phase and completed that whole process, it inched up towards 18, 19, 20 million. And the property can't produce that kind of revenue.
You're not making a Super 8.
Correct. I'm not going to. Yeah.
This is this is
Yeah.
going to be special. And as long as I still get my cigar bar, we're fine.
I want to talk with you about that.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
So we're
just put it in perspective, though, that this project is
Could be 20 million.
it could be a $20 million project.
Yeah.
And what you're looking at now is getting potential, like you said, state grants that are almost impossible to come by, but you are applying.
There were either 567 or 650 applicants.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's weird how Illinois does it. We've done this before in other states. We've always won both federal and state. Because most projects won't work without them. They
Sure.
they don't cash
Not
flow.
in the I guess the millions.
Yeah,
you
because
know?
it's so expensive. Because when you're contracted with the United States government, and it's a historic building, there are certain things you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
In exchange for 20%.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Right?
Yeah.
But it's expensive. I mean, it increased the cost. If we're going to give you money, then you have to keep all these architectural significant things.
Which one of those things that we talked about one time when we were having coffee, I did, like at first when he said something, I was like, well, then just knock it down. And he's like,
Sure, Britt.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I know. But then he
Knock it
told me
down.
about the architectural value, and I was like, choking on the coffee myself. I'm like, I can't believe I suggested that.
Well, it's the more you know moment.
Yeah.
It really, and people you read headlines or you hear about a project, but when you get down to the brass tacks of Sixth and Hampshire, it's a stunning building,
Mm-hmm.
and no one is knocking down the door to do this project because it's going to be, it's really very complicated. And so where we are with it is we are very, Illinois increased the Illinois state tax credits.
I heard.
Tripled them,
Mm-hmm.
something some for us. Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we are third in line out of 650 people. So we'll find out in 3 weeks.
Fingers crossed.
It's
Great.
possible. We don't know the value of those others.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we're really needing those for this project to take place. But we've got a great team of consultants. I mean, our conference calls are extensive and wide and deep. And I think, what's so great about it is so many, what I find what I've discovered about our projects is that the people that we try to work with match the heart of the community. And then all of a sudden, our projects become their projects, even though they're not from here. They actually want it as much as we do.
Be invested.
Even though they're not from here.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cigar bar.
Cigar bar, yes.
You know where in my mind where I have it going is the Octagon.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
Who told you that?
You did.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was only 2 years ago,
Oh.
so okay.
Well, so
But
see,
yeah.
you-
So it's been about, yeah.
You know what I've learned? If you just put things out,
Because
Long
I
flight.
said, if that's not, then that could be like a maybe Muddy River News satellite office. I don't know, but that's a cool that little kiosk there. It's that will be awesome.
Do you know there's an underground road that goes to it?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how they got the cash.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah.
It is cool.
It's just extraordinary.
And it's cool that you're willing to invest as much as you're willing to invest in it.
Well, we've got to get these. Something. We
Yeah,
got something.
I get it.
And I feel really good. I'm not losing sleep anymore.
Good.
Over it.
I know you and I talked about previously, and you
Yeah.
were stressed.
Yeah.
As you should be. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus,
it's a big
Yeah.
undertaking.
A lot of money.
It's
Yeah.
a lot different than, I guess I want to say, and I will go ahead and differentiate the fact that this is a different
Play
from,
versus a musical.
a play versus no the TIFF projects that I constantly banter on.
Sure. Which we've
I'm
been a
very
recipient of.
Yes, I'm very much not a fan of TIFF. We've
Sure.
but if
had
somebody's going to spend $20 million,
well, my thing is you're comparing apples to oranges when you're comparing a $20 million project as opposed to, renovating a downtown building that costs you $200,000 or something. And I mean, again, apples to oranges. What does it give back to the community? This is giving back revenue through the hotel motel tax. I'm sure a bunch of other things. You're creating
Food and
jobs.
beverage tax, the jobs.
Yeah, like it's just a whole
I think
different.
we're at 75 employees.
It's just a different ball game.
75 employees doesn't sound like a lot, but there aren't that many companies in Quincy that have 75.
No, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like talking out of two sides of my butt, so I guess I wanted to like differentiate.
I'm trying to picture that. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say, I am not a proponent of TIF, but if TIF has to happen, I would like to see it go towards infrastructure and giant projects like this that benefit the community, not just one person.
And give Bob a cigar bar.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Anything to make Bob happy makes Brittany happy.
Wow.
So, thank you.
Let off. Let off. So
Wrap it up.
You got anything before we wrap it up?
Oh my gosh. Anything that I'd want to say?
Say hi to Kathy if you want.
Well, hello, Kathy.
She's a watcher.
The book that smells like the 90s.
Yes.
I go, can I smell it? I did.
You did smell it. I love paper.
I do too.
I love paper. And I love
This is
pencils.
so cool.
I'm a total fall geek because of going back to school and all that stuff.
Hold it up for the camera, though.
Oh, yeah. So, as I said, my grandmother worked at the patio from 1959 to 1992. The reason why I bought the patio, which is really Stephanie Kachowski's fault, because she randomly
That's a mutual friend.
randomly said, "Well, we're sitting at the bar, or you didn't sit at the bar at the patio. We were in bar side dining."
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Do you think you ever buy the patio? And without missing a beat, I go, "I do." It was 3 years later, and there was no reason I thought that I would, other than
Thank you,
I know. So
Stephanie.
she was the one that pushed that forward. But my grandmother supported us from the patio. My mother, pregnant with me at 14, had me at 15. My grandmother was from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Then moved to Jackson, Tennessee, which is why we call it the Tennessee's Lounge. And my mother is white, my father is black. It was very hard for my grandmother to appreciate her little granddaughter having a biracial baby in the 70s. But the moment I arrived,
she fell in love.
Prevailed.
Yeah.
And
as it should.
And she, until 1992, worked her booty off at the patio, and supported us. Bought us a trailer at Palm Gardens Trailer Park. We were kicked out of Palm Gardens Trailer Park because in the 70s it was okay to deny people housing based on race, and she had to buy a house. She bought a house for us on the tips from the patio. So for me, the patio is very personal, and as Mark and Kim say, it is part of my DNA, even though I'm not, technically, it's not technically my DNA. But anyway, the reason why we're holding this up is one of the beautiful moments is, every night we're going to go from here to there, and someone's going to say, my husband and I, or my wife and I, we have been coming here, and for a lot of people, even though they only eat there once a year.
Yeah.
Do you know how much that means?
Sure.
That this is that moment, and you've chosen the patio. It has nothing to do with Ryan Tanner.
Yeah.
It has everything to do.
It's their special moments,
them.
and everyone's sharing those special moments there.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
And they have, from 1959 to 2009, December 31st, 2019, every reservation. And for every year.
And they kind of hand wrote those.
Oh,
right?
they did.
It's all.
And it's got all the, as I said earlier when we were in the green room, it's got all the tea about the people. And I can see where my grandmother wrote notes that I'm out of town. I can see where she said, I'm not taking this customer anymore.
Smith wife, Smith girlfriend. That's the problem.
And so sometimes when customers are in and I'm meeting for the first time, I'll run upstairs and I'll grab a year. And I'll say, okay, I'll hand them the book. And I'll say, okay, tell me go to your anniversary date. And they'll open it up. They got their light on. And they look at you and they're like, wow.
That's cool.
It is so cool.
That's the magic of the patio.
Yeah.
That is so
because
cool.
it's about people. So
Man,
that's what I wanted to say.
better get
We're-
under locking
Oh, it
keys.
is.
That is a-
I have a whole room.
Okay.
I have a whole room that is got three locks on it. It's the only apartment that hasn't been touched in the building.
That smells like the 90s.
Yes. So I was just Jay and I would just, I guess my ending words would just be thank you so much for what has been for us a tremendous honor to have the patio and to get to do this. We love coming up here to do this. There's not been a moment where we've said, "Oh wow, can't believe we have to go to Quincy this weekend." We absolutely love being here. So thank you.
I love hearing
Well, thanks
that.
for
Thank you.
thanks for your
Thank you.
thanks what you've done for your hometown.
Yes,
Your
My
hometown
pleasure.
appreciates
so
it.
It's
much.
deserving.
And
All
thanks
right.
for these martinis.
Yeah, Teresa bailed me out. I said I was
Yeah.
going to make them, and then she got there and did them for me.
All
so,
right.
yeah.
Well, cheers.
Thank you.
Well,
Front row kicking back, old school tracks like damn. Can't get enough of this mode, like I don't even know where I